So there's been some guidance recently from the Article 29 Working Party around the role of the DPO, and the ICO have also put some meat to the bone. I think it's been a challenge for organisations to understand where they get these people from, what role do they provide. I think there's been some questions about whether they're actually needed. And I think the guidance has been helpful in terms of understanding that it's important to know whether you're dealing with risky data. There are different guidelines around whether you're a public sector organisation or private sector. What I see is that the job market for qualified people is a booming business. There's a ton of people out there, maybe ambulance chasing to an extent, but wanting to get involved in GDPR and fulfil that role as a DPO. Where do you see this? I mean, what is that? What is the purpose of that role within an organisation?
Yeah, I definitely think a DPO can be shared. Right? I mean, there's a gap to be bridged, right? So IT generally deals with the systems, the back end, and the architectures, and making it all work. But they've got this keep all mentality because there's very few clear guidelines about data classification and how long. It's why we've got so much problems in terms of IT storage, protection, disaster, all these fun topics that everyone has challenges with. So the DPO brings the process function, the consulting knowledge, the legislation. What they lack is the understanding about how data is architected, how it's stored, because whilst every IT department's got common systems, we all have email, we all have ERP systems, we all run some derivative of Oracle or SAP or whatever the application may be. But your implementation is very different. Right. Salesforce, for example, right? Our implementation of Salesforce is very different to what somebody else's implementation would look like. So IT brings that knowledge of how it's working. The DPO brings the legislative to say, this is what you should or shouldn't be keeping. Mm-hmm. So I think, in terms of DPO, absolutely they should be shared, because otherwise it becomes a burdensome cost for all businesses. Mm-hmm. So it's like any level of consulting. That's how I would see the role of DPO being. Okay. You can take, I would guess, a view of multiple organisations, understand their IT infrastructure, and then you can apply the policies downwards.
So they're not a silver bullet?
No, they're not by a long shot, right? Okay. I mean, just because you've got an officer that says, thou shalt do something like this, right? You still need the systems to be able to behave in a way that allows you to obey the commandment.
Right, and obviously from the point of view of information governance or good information management, which really is kind of underpinning a lot of how to respond to GDPR. It's written into the regulation about knowing your data, knowing where it is, knowing what it's for, how long to keep it. Really, I see that DPO role as being glue in a broader information governance steering group or committee that can really sort of bring out the regulatory view. Take ownership, take responsibility, but has to work with other people around the organisation, not just within lines of business, but within, as you say, IT, but also the records management and information management people.
I mean, the one final thing I'll look at it as well is from an IT perspective, they should be embracing this as an opportunity, right? Because if you fully embrace the change in the way that you store and keep and retain data, and get a set of policies that goes, after this life, after this length of time, we can delete it, we can get rid of it. That's going to solve a lot of IT budgetary problems and a lot of resource problems in terms of storage, backup, and disaster recovery. It's going to make companies a lot more nimble. Right. They won't be dragging so much data behind them.
Yeah, I think which is an important point, actually. The organisations are trying to be cost effective, cost efficient. They're trying to answer changing regulation, changing compliance requirement, and partly being innovative and being efficient with the data that you have. That all comes to play. So actually, GDPR is, as you say, a good thing.
It's an opportunity to clean house, right? That's the main thing.
Yeah, agreed.